Okay, girl, we're live. What's up, ladies? Welcome, welcome. My name is Rose Stein, and I created this amazing group, Let's Button Those Jeans, because I just know that there are way too many women who have suffered for way too long, struggling with their body image and what to do with food and their self-image and yo-yo dieting. And gosh darn it, we just don't need to be so hard on ourselves. But we also do need to address food, right? For so long, I just didn't want to think about it, right? I just wanted to be one of those people that just never had to think about food. What I found, the reality is people who are healthy and vibrant and alive, especially those of us that live in the United States, but like all across the world now, if you want to be healthy and vibrant and alive, chances are you're very intentional with your food. Because if you're not, if you really do just close your eyes and don't think about it, and you end up just eating whatever is around or whatever is offered to you or whatever is easiest or whatever's quick or whatever whoever is making, chances are you're going to be eating the standard American diet, which is SAD, standard American diet. Sad, 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 sad. So to be intentional with our food, to self-care in that way and prep is actually a really wonderful, loving, and good use of time. So let's do it. So first of all, I'm going to do roasted veggies today. This is pretty standard for me, probably once a week. I will do this group of veggies together. It's one of my favorites. So let's turn on the oven first, get a little preheating. So I'm just going to turn that to about 400, and that will start doing what it's doing. So what I like to do is I like to layer, because we all know that it takes a little bit of time to chop and prepare the vegetables for going into the oven or going into the steamer or going into wherever it's going into. So first things first, I turn on the oven so it's preheating. And while it's preheating, I'm taking Brussels sprouts. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'm going to do a little bit of spray. So I actually got this on Amazon. It's just like, I think it actually says it's an oil spray bottle. And so I can just use a little bit and spray it. And then I can reuse that. I can fill it up, and I use avocado oil. That's just because it has a higher burn rate, which means that it keeps the integrity of the good fat in there at a higher temperature than a lot of other oils. So I prefer to cook with avocado oil or coconut oil or something like that. You can actually see on the label, like if you were to buy any kind of oil, it will tell you what the burn rate is. And it'll be a temperature. It would be like, either medium to high or low to medium, or it'll actually tell you 350 degrees or 400 degrees or whatever it is on the bottle of oil. And that will tell you at what temperature that oil begins to change molecular structure and go from being a good oil for you, where your body's like, hell yeah, I know what to do with this. This is awesome. I'm going to transport vitamins A, D, E, K, and CoQ10. I'm going to make awesome, healthy cell membranes. I'm going to do all kinds of really cool things in the body. Those are the good, healthy fats. And then when we start to get into trans fats, and that's kind of what happens when we heat the oil. When they heat the oil really high, it denatures it. And the body's like, I don't know what to do with this. And it gets stuck in the arteries. It hardens the fat inside of the cells. It denatures the membranes of our cells. It's just like a whole big old nasty mess. So if we can keep the integrity of the oil, then it's a good oil for us. We feel satiated, we've got energy, we feel good during the day, our cells are happy. It's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And our food tastes good. That's the genius. Any of you all that were around in the 80s and 90s, remember when we all went fat-free and it was like, holy Lord, if you don't add sugar to that, you're just having a sad meal. So everybody added sugar, and then, boy, that was a bummer, right? That was a big bummer. And now 80% of our food in the grocery store has added sugar. Come on, man, don't do it. Do you know there's 140 different names for sugar, added sugar? Holy cow. Holy cow, that's wild. Anyway, so what I'm doing right now is I'm doing Brussels sprouts. I do Brussels sprouts in the bottom. So I'm just cutting them. I actually like them whole. You don't even have to cut them in half. Honestly, you could just cut this bottom part off and stick it in the pan. I use a Pyrex dish for the Brussels sprouts. It tends to cook more evenly. But yeah, you can leave them whole. I'm cutting them in half. I prefer them whole actually, but my mom, she really likes them cut in half. So I'm doing a little special food prep for my mother because I know she just loves it so much. She also really likes these little end pieces. She's hilarious. She likes those little end pieces just like sauteed up. I'm like, you're so funny. So I'm going to save those for her. I'm going to cut these in half. I just got a few more. And then the way that I do Brussels sprouts, and again, you can keep them whole if you want to. Just cut that little end piece off. And then I'm going to put just a squirt spray, you'll see me do it, of olive oil on the top, or not olive oil, I'm sorry, it's avocado oil. A little bit of salt. I'm actually going to put about a 1/4 cup of water inside of the Pyrex dish. And what that does is it helps it kind of steam it, right? Because if you've ever like put veggies in the oven, you'll probably know if you do it too high to heat or for too long or just not the right thing, what happens is that it dehydrates and it becomes very kind of like chewy, and it's not awesome, and it's not fried because you didn't put that much oil on it. So it's not crispy. It just kind of ends up being like dried out and kind of chewy, and it's like not awesome to eat. So a remedy for that. So I just put a little of the avocado oil on. I'm going to put some salt. And remember, our kidneys really have a fine time with salt. It's good to have the sodium if we have proper potassium and if we're not eating a bunch of sugar, right? Because that blocks up the kidneys and the liver. It just blocks up the whole body. So when you really are starting to eat clean, then your body actually needs this salt, the sodium, which is super fun because it helps food taste really good. Okay, so I just walked right over here and I put some water, about a 1/4 cup, in the bottom of this dish, and that's going to help it steam while it also, the heat of the oven is going to crisp the top part. And about 400 in the oven. I just put those in at the bottom. I'm going to save these little ends for my dear mother. She is going to be so happy. So happy. It's nice to do that kind of stuff for people. You know, we all know that. It's nice when you kind of know what some of their favorite things are, especially if they're healthy things, then you like really feel like a good person. Like anytime I make anything that like actually has some nutrition in it for my son and he eats it and he likes it, like, oh my God, it feels so good. I feel like such a good mom. Oh, it's just the little things, you know what I mean? Okay, so this here on our Foodie Prep Friday, oh, that was kind of a fun title, don't you? Foodie Friday, Foodie Prep Day. So these are parsnips. If you have never had a roasted parsnip, girlfriend, you are missing out on life. So I just took a tray, a regular like cookie sheet, and I put some parchment paper on it. You don't really, I don't even know. I don't think you really even need a lot of oil. Just put a little tiny squirt, just kind of rub it in. You don't even really need it. I don't even know why I did that. It's just like habits sometimes, you know, it's just so funny. Breaking the little habits. All right, so parsnip is kind of like a carrot, sort of. It grows in the ground, so it is a root vegetable. It is a little bit more starchy, obviously, than other vegetables like broccoli or green beans or something like that. So you can take that or leave that. I know everyone's digestive system is a little bit different. Personally, I'm like, hey, a veggie's a veggie. That's my philosophy on that. But I just wanted to let you know, just in case you have some sensitivity to that. So basically, I'm just going to chop it into like little fries, right? And I'm just going to make these like little parsnip fries. They're super cool. And obviously, if you're sitting here going, oh my God, I could probably do that with carrots as well and make little carrot fries. Yeah, or sweet potato fries or whatever you wanted. So these go really well actually in the air fryer. So that's a really easy, wonderful way to cook them. Or you can just pop them if you don't have an air fryer or you want to make more quantity. You can just lay them here. You can kind of, yeah, there you go. You can kind of see I'm just laying them down. And I'm just going to chop, chop, chop into little pieces, little fry slices. So nice. Just going to lay them evenly here. Now, when I do them in the air fryer, it's fine. Like I take out the grill, that grill part, leave the bottom part so the air can circulate underneath. And then I just pile them on top of each other. And then every like 3 to 4 minutes, I'll come over and like shake them so that the bottom becomes the top and the top becomes the bottom. And then that's a really easy way to do the parsnip fries, or any veggies really. So they don't necessarily need to be laid flat. Unless you're just going to press the button and walk away, then obviously you're going to want to put them in a little differently. This is so exciting, ladies. So the other day, my prep that I did was, I did a purple cabbage, which was freaking awesome. I did like a cabbage steak. So I took the whole head of cabbage, just cut off that bottom part, you know, just a little bit of the bottom part, put it right down here. And I just went boom, 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 boom. So I had like 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch thick purple cabbage. And then I laid them down just like I am on the cookie sheet, just like this, with a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt. And I stuck them in the oven at 400 for, I don't know, probably 25 minutes. And I did the same with cauliflower. So I did cauliflower steaks. So that's what I've been eating the last couple of days. And now I am doing this prep before the other ones are completely gone, right? That's kind of one of the keys, is that to not, you know, I mean, because time is a thing, you feel me? Time is a thing. And so you got to get in what you can, when you can, and don't worry about it. I will say that frozen vegetables have been part of my life experience more days than not. And that's totally okay. I've even done on occasion the like freeze-dried veggies, you know what I'm saying? Like they come in the package and are like totally awesome and ridiculous at the same time, but do what you can. So I really love, this is why I do so much prep at one time, so many vegetables, because that's where the vitamins and the minerals and the nutrients and the enzymes and the fiber and the water are in my diet. Of course, I'm going to get those things in other places, but the vegetables are really where it's at. And the vegetables is usually the first thing to go. If I am, you know, if I'm busy, or if I'm on vacation, or if I'm traveling, or if I just don't really feel like it, or if I wait too long and I'm a little bit too hungry and I'm kind of annoyed and I eat something weird, it's usually the vegetables which are the first thing to go. So making sure that I have vegetables that I like, that are cooked in the way that I like them, that are tasty, that are just ready to go, but I don't have to take this kind of time when I'm hungry, has just been a total game changer for me. Absolute game changer. And it really takes away the blame and the shame and the am I right, or am I a good girl? Am I sticking with my diet, or whatever the drama and trauma of the story that goes on inside of the head. And it really just simplifies it. You know, it's like, hey, I got a human body. This human body really responds to vegetables well. We were designed to eat vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds. And, you know, I mean, depending on your philosophy, I do believe that we're supposed to eat some animal products, but I totally get if that is not your jam. But you get the point that I'm making here, right? It's definitely vegetables and fruits. I don't see really how anyone can get away from that just natural goodness of the way that you feel when you eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. It's incredible how so many issues disappear. We feel full, we feel satisfied, our digestion is rolling and flowing, things are going great. Okay, so I've got this whole beautiful tray of parsnip fries that I'm just going to do a little. So I've got my avocado oil. I'm just going to do a little squirt there. You don't need a lot, honestly. We're not trying to deep fry. We're just giving a little bit of crisp there. Put some salt on here. You can do all kinds of different flavors and seasonings and things like that. I'm just kind of a salt girl. I like to keep it simple because When I am putting my meal together, that's when I like to have fresh herbs and seasonings and spices and maybe some pesto and different things like that, maybe some salsa. There's different ways in which I spice up the actual plate when I'm putting it together. But my cooked veggies, that really beautiful sense of self-care and caring for myself when I have cooked veggies in the fridge is just so nice. All right, so this is second layer. Pop those in there. And then the top layer here is going to be this amazingness. And again, if you have not had this, I was at the grocery store the other day and I was buying all of these things that you are seeing here. And it was so funny because like the lady in line behind me, the cashier and the person bagging my bags, they were all like, what is that? Like, what is a parsnip? What do you do with parsnips? They were all asking me. I was like, well, you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do that. And they were like, that's amazing. What is that? I'm like, it's a kabocha squash. Like, what do you even do with that? I'm like, dude, the same thing, right? You can steam, you can bake, you can grill, you can even put it on the barbecue. I've totally done that before with the kabocha. It's amazing. All right, so this is my fancy knife, and I don't want to use that. So I brought this other knife, but I don't know if it's going to work quite as well. See, this is one of the troubles with kabocha squash. So if you don't have like a significant amount of strength, right? Or like maybe you're like really pissed off at somebody, right? And you just really need to get it out. Maybe this would be a good method of doing that. Just, yeah. Woo. Okay. So now I'm in a little bit here and now you're going to hear some banging because I'm going to bang this kabocha squash on the counter as much as I can. Let's see if we can get it in a little bit more. No. Okay. Woo. Did you see that? That was awesome. Now that's exactly why Seth, who bought me this beautiful, nice, fancy knife, he was like, do not do that with a nice knife. Okay. All right, so let's actually grab a spoon real quick. I always forget something, you know, I need a crew, man. That's what I need, right? You want to be my kitchen crew and we'll get into the kitchen and we'll like do some cooking for the people. I could always use a little help. All right, so I got a spoon and of course there's going to be some seeds and stuff on the inside. So you just want to scoop that part out. I like to scoop it out pretty good because I don't like any of the like soft kind of squishy parts in my kabocha when I'm eating that. All right, so now you can totally eat the skin. On butternut squash, you can eat the skin. Kabocha squash, you can eat the skin. I can't think of other squashes. Kind of like zucchini, right? Like you can totally eat the skin as long as, I mean, sometimes it's a little bit too hard, but you want to cook it properly. So what we're going to do is I am going to make just right here, just, it's a little wobbly. Let's do this way. I mean, it's for real, right? This is a hearty, sturdy winter squash. Amazing. So what we're going to do with this as well, and this you can put in the air fryer too, right? You just make these like little, and you can do it any whatever size you want, right? You can do little chunks, big chunks. You can do thin slices, thick slices. You could probably put the whole thing in there if you wanted to, but I would definitely recommend getting out the seeds first because that's gross. That's a gross. Spaghetti squash, you cannot eat the skin. It doesn't matter how you cook it, it ain't happening. So I'm gonna put here, yes, just all my kabocha squash. I'm gonna lay them flat just like this. And again, there's so many ways that you can lay it out. Sometimes what I'll do too is kind of, I'll cut them a little bit differently. I'll show you how else I cut them. If you're kind of, you know, a little bit nervous about eating the skin, I mean, I recommend that you try it because the skin of a lot of vegetables and fruits is where a lot of the vitamins and minerals are. And so if you can get yourself in the groove of eating more skins, you're going to increase your vitamin, your vitamins and your minerals, you know? So good to know. Good to know. All right. So another way, I think we're going to put my knife right under here. Another way that you can cut these is a little bit thicker, you know, like this. And then put it down this way on the tray, right? Skin down, put some water underneath so that it softens. And then if you really did not like the skin, you're gonna like it. It's fine. It's actually pretty awesome. You know, this is a bit thicker. And so you can just kind of, you know, with your spoon, kind of dig it out or scrape it out. Or I guess you could like peel the whole thing. I don't know. I've never done that because I like the skin. The skin is like the awesome part. All right, so now that I got these big chunks, they're probably going to cook a little unevenly, but that's okay. I'll get in there a little bit later when it's cooking and see what's going on. If it needs, some of it needs to be taken out a little sooner. So kabocha squash is really, I mean, it's a squash, right? So depending on where it was grown, when it was grown, the ripeness, when it was you know, picked. That's kind of one of the things about real food that can be a little bit frustrating for some people, because so many of us have spent most of our lives really having consistency, like consistency in texture, in taste, in flavor, in, you know, the profile of what it is that we're eating. I mean, you go to a McDonald's in Santa Cruz and it's going to be basically the same as a McDonald's in, you know, Kentucky. There's going to be a consistency there that you can't get with real food. You just can't, right? Because the nutrient profile is what makes it taste the way that it tastes. When it was picked during the season makes it taste the way that it was taste. The water, it makes a difference. How much sun it got, the richness of the soil that it grew in. I mean, all of those things matter. And when you are making that transition and eating less and less processed food and more real, fresh, alive, and vibrant food, this would be considered fresh, alive, and vibrant food, food that grows, food that changes from season to season, from place to place. It's not consistent. It's not. Sometimes you get a kabocha squash and I want to cry. It's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. And other times I get one and I'm like, ugh. Like, that was not awesome. That was kind of like blah. There was no flavor. There was no taste to it. And that kabocha squash was probably grown in dirt, not soil. It was probably picked before it was like fully ripe. And, you know, it probably sat on the shelf longer than it needed to, or maybe not long enough. Who knows? So there you go. Kabocha squash, chunks and slices. Very exciting. Very exciting. Same thing. A little bit of oil, a little bit of salt. I don't have any rosemary right now. I do in the garden, but if I had thought of this five minutes before, I would have grabbed some rosemary. That is a wonderful flavor profile for kabocha squash or any squash. This is rosemary, that earthy deliciousness of rosemary. And there already is some water in the Brussels sprouts at the bottom. So it's already kind of steaming inside of the oven. So I found that if I'm already doing a little bit of steam in there with the Brussels sprouts, adding water to the kabocha squash, it actually just makes it a little bit too soggy. So I'm not going to do that. However, if you were doing kabocha squash just on its own in the oven, then I would suggest putting a little bit of water in the bottom, not as much as a quarter cup, but like an eighth a cup. Right, it's like half a quarter cup. Right. Cool, so it's gonna take a little time for all of that to cook. I typically leave it in there on convection bake. You don't have to do convection, but that's typically what I do for at 400, temperature 400. Again, if you can turn it down, right? If you have like some kind of oil on there that you know, is not a high temp oil, or you just want to kind of like cook it a little bit more evenly, or whatever it is, you can turn it down. What I do is I do 400 for about 35 minutes. And you can always check it because it depends on where you're at and what kind of oven you got and what altitude you're at and all of those things. But that's the basic gist. And then I have veggies that I can cool down. You always want to cool them down first, let them cool on the counter, but you don't want them to cool for too long. So you want to give them like an hour to cool, but not more than 4, right? Because then it gets down to room temperature, and then bacteria and things like that can start to grow. So you never want to leave it on the counter for that long, especially like, you know, squashes and root vegetables and things like that. You don't want to leave it out for too long. So leave it out for about an hour just so that it can cool down, and store it in little Tupperware containers. If you want to do the best of the best, the glass Tupperware is probably the best of the best. Then you have veggies for like days, which is so awesome and so much fun. All right, ladies. So I'm just actually going to pop in, see if anyone has any questions that I could answer while I am here with you on Foodie Prep Friday. Doesn't look like there's any questions as of yet. So glad that you were here. I love you so much. My only other point that I want to get across is that, you know, food prep can be fun. I know that it is like one of the biggest pains in the ass and things that most women complain about, because they're like, I got so much to do. Like, you got to clean the kitchen, you got to do the cooking, you got to do, oh my God, everything. I mean, I hear you. I 100% hear you and feel you. It is a lot. And to commit to doing that every single day, all day long, and, you know, 100%, that's like crazy making. But we can do the best that we can, right? And I can think about food prep differently. I can acknowledge that it's not only me. We all got to do it, right? It's not just the people who want to lose weight, all people. So I remember I was at some event for my son's school. And this is actually before I really had this shift in my thinking and my perception about my body and about my weight and about eating healthy and all of that. And I really was still stuck on the idea that somehow it's harder for me and it's easier for other people, and they don't have to think about it, and they don't have to do the planning and the prepping and all that crap that I have to do that I don't want to do anyway. And then I do all the work, and then I don't eat the food anyway because I'm pissed off because I don't have a support group, and just on and on. And I remember I was standing there, and there was this woman who was very thin, very healthy. And we were there for like several hours. It was some event that we were doing for my son's school. And this woman pulled out of her pocket like a sandwich bag full of celery and carrot sticks. And just totally, just normal, right? Like just totally normal. Like, I care for myself, don't you? You know, like, of course I plan and prepare. Of course I'm going to bring veggie sticks. Like, what am I going to do? Be stuck with the cupcakes that like that mom brought over here and the donuts that like that person brought? She's like, absolutely not. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I care for myself. And I just remember thinking, holy shit, that's amazing. I had never really thought that like, that's actually normal. It's actually normal to prep. It's actually normal to prepare ahead of time. It's actually normal to be intentional with making sure that I get plenty of nutrients in this body. Very transformational. I mean, just one of those like total shifts. Love it. Love it. All right, ladies. Well, I love you so much. What do I got here? Oh, Miss Margie, Food Prep Friday. I know. Loving to have food ready to eat. I know it's just such a good idea. You gotta do it. And you know what? If you don't like doing all the chopping, freaking Safeway does it for you. You know, like you can buy all of this stuff like already chopped and prepped and prepared, and you just throw it in your air fryer or throw it in your oven or whatever it is, and go by your day. Like, it doesn't need to be that difficult. It doesn't need to be a gourmet thing. Sometimes it's just lunch. All right. I love you, ladies, and I will see you next week. Have a great weekend.